Hey folks, we have to have a little talk about the Fujifilm 10-24 update from 2020. First though, let me tell you where we are. We're at the Bonifacius Bridge, or at least a little courtyard in front of it. I think a pan shot would be appropriate. We have it largely to ourselves right now in 2021 because of course tourism is at a different speed. And I'll talk about this in a little bit. We're mainly here to talk about the Fujifilm 10-24 f4 OIS, now with WR wide-angle zoom lens. It's the second version of this, so Mark II as far as the 10-24 goes. It's a general purpose wide-angle lens that a lot of people find very, very appropriate for very, very many situations. I'm actually one of them. If you look in the bag or in the pocket, I actually have version 1 or Mark I of the 10-24. You can see it right here. It's one of the few lenses that I bought brand new without even looking secondhand when I joined the Fujifilm system because I wanted to not waste time and get to things properly. So I've had this lens for about 6 years now, and it has been through Bruges and beyond, to put it mildly. So I was quite interested when the 10-24 Mark II came out. Now it's got weather sealing, now it's got clearly defined aperture numbers, and overall there haven't been many huge changes as far as the optics go, so this is mostly on the outside with the aperture ring, with the weather sealing, but there is actually a little more stabilization added by a full stop. So you get 3.5 stops of stabilization if you're in a shaky moment in low light or doing some video, for example. I am in those situations, so I appreciate that. I also appreciate that now Fujifilm's developed over the last few years in-camera stabilization, and it's good to know if you're new to this system, you can combine the two, so that's kind of neat. And just overall thoughts and impressions of this lens are pretty positive. I mean, since the optics are the same on the inside, it's a little bit more of the same if you're very familiar with this lens like I am. If you're buying into the Fujifilm system, you could certainly think about just jumping in a Mark II, which would be my recommendation. Because even here in the beautiful city of Bruges, you know, we get some rainy days, like you can see by the gray sort of permeating right now. And I think the weather sealing is certainly not necessary, which is part of where the Mark I can be interesting on secondhand sales. But it is useful, and it adds, I think, to the longevity of the camera, especially when you have slightly wet conditions or even the dry, sandy situations on holiday. So that, I think, is great. Seeing my aperture numbers more clearly is really great. It's something I wish had been on Mark I, since it was always a constant f4 to f22. On the outside, I also like that they actually took away a couple of things, notably the two switches that are on the Mark I 10-24. That controlled the aperture, the automatic aperture setting, so that you could just put it basically towards automatic a little more quickly. And it also had the stabilization on and off switch. Frankly, those two switches always got in my way, so I'm glad to see them gone. That auto aperture is now set to the dial, and you just click in this side piece to switch over. Then you're locked in, and I think that is fantastic. And like I say, I think overall they've done a really good job on the evolution of this lens, even if it isn't a revolution, especially in the optics. That's not a fault though. Like I said, 6 years of the 10-24, and it has not really failed me as far as things go. One other little thing that I do like about this update is it's so largely the same as far as the overall lens that I can take old accessories like this lens hood that I had for the 10-24 Mark I and put it on the Mark II. So that's kind of nice. And also at the same time, it's actually about 3 or 5 centimeters shorter and 25 grams lighter. So with a lot of this being based around travel photography, as far as I see it with my Fujifilm mirrorless, that is more space in the bag, and I'm certainly not going to complain about that. So all food for thought. I mean, beyond that, you can't really say too much, and I don't want to ramble on too long. In fact, if I did, it would probably be about, again, this beautiful bridge that we call the Bonifacius Bridge. It's the smallest bridge in Bruges, but it's actually not the oldest bridge. It was only built in 1910. And this was formerly a graveyard, a cemetery. So if you look carefully, right at the middle of the bridge, there's an old gravestone, which I think is kind of neat, and some free advice if you're here digging around for tips on Bruges, as well as thoughts on the Fujifilm 10-24 f4 OIS WR. So that's what I got. I hope you enjoyed and this is useful. Don't be shy to do the like, comment, share, subscribe thing to show some appreciation and love. And also do remember that you can rent these lenses. I was lucky enough that my local camera shop, Photo Nice, as well as Fujifilm Belgium, for the last few years have been lending me equipment with no strings attached. I don't even have to make these videos, much less say only nice things. And they have rental programs that you can consider if you want to try this lens before you buy. It supports your local camera shop. You get a good taste of things before throwing down 900 bones on this baby. And it just keeps the world turning and is not a bad option, I think, to mention on camera. So having said all that and getting lucky with the sound so far in this increasingly busy corner, I'm going to sign off. I'm Andy McSweeney of Andy McSweeney Photography and Photo Tour Bruges. If you're in the beautiful city of Bruges, I do a photo tour here since 2012 that is suitable for grandma with the smartphone all the way through to more serious gear and beyond. We've had everything on the tour over the last 8 years of operation, and we're here to help get you to the right sites in the right light, etc., etc. There's a link in the description. Take a gander, feel free, and at this point, do what I like to do. Get out there and get shooting.